各位线上的好朋友，大家好！感谢大家一起参与全民开讲终结假案论坛，我是今天的主持人华姐。首先，让我们来介绍一个56年来致力于传承中华文化的团体——太极门气功养生学会。
它不只是人类最古老的运动，更超越运动。从心灵层次提升身心的能量。古老门派师徒一脉，传承太极门优质文化，实现身心灵全方位的健康。师父引导弟子性命双修，练气练心，强身健体，修心养性，净化心灵，以达心气合一，返璞归真，明心见性，天人合一的最高境界。它是一种生活的修行，从愿意改变自己开始，找到圆满人生，阴阳平衡的智慧。
1、2、3，
太极门 Energy Family。
行脚全球，
鼓起！
参与3000多场国内外文化展演，拜访世界101个国家，200多个城市，举办超过2万场次公益讲座，在海内外300多所各级学校推动爱与和平人权教育，分享爱与和平的理念，化解世界的干戈，启动良心时代运动，让良心时代的蝴蝶效应风行全球200个国家，超过3000个单位共同响应。启动良心的循环，凝聚成强大的能量，改变世界。转动世界向上向善。也为自己开创更美好的人生。
守护良心，快乐团结，耶！
太极门是个古传气功武术修行门派，传承道家心源，蕴含人类最高的哲学思想。太极门也是一个国际性的公益文化团体。当代的掌门人洪道子博士 在1966年成立了太极门气功养生学会，在世界各地共设有15处道馆，传授弟子心灵平衡养生之道，数万家庭受惠。太极门师徒一脉相传，以师徒传承方式，将太极门文化、武学艺术展现在世人面前，传递文化真善美的价值，散布良心、爱与和平的理念。50余年来，师徒自立自费，走访全球5大洲101个国家，300多个城市，进行了3000多场文化展演与交流，被誉为国际和平亲善大使。所以国际间对太极门气功养生学会这个团体并不陌生。然而，太极门这个团体在台湾竟然遭到政府的人权与宗教信仰自由迫害，迈入了26年，仍无法解决。太极门的修行圣地甚至被违法拍卖并没收，引发了大规模的街头和平抗议，继而引起了国际人权、宗教、法律学者的关注与讨论。让我们一起来观看国际专家学者们对太极门假案关注及声援。
I mean, it's unbelievable. It just wouldn't make sense if you try to make it sense. And so I keep saying to myself, how could it happen? Why does it happen? And why does it happen to Thai men? And I'm having great trouble in understanding this. What is the interest that a civil servant can have in behaving in this way? What was pushing it that this would happen? Why could it go on happening for such a long time? I want to understand motives far more and the fitting together of the system, a system which on paper looks so good and yet has been feeding this terrible corruption.
I think is a blemish on what is a very fine system of justice in Taiwan. The role of government, the role of tax authorities, the role of prosecutors, their role is not to seize property, okay? Their role is not to prosecute people. That may be what they do, but that's not their role. What is their role then? Their role is to seek justice. Their role is to follow the rule of law. And in this case, in the Taiji Men case, it's been determined that the taxes that have attempted to be collected are improper. And this is disturbing because the continuation and the perpetuation of an injustice is as bad as the commitment of that injustice in the first place. And that is what's happening here in the Taiji Men tax case. In any court around the world, including in the United States and certainly in Taiwan, if there's been an error, we don't adhere to that error. We don't say, okay, fine, there's been an error, but too bad. If we find new DNA evidence, for example, that confirms that someone who has been prosecuted and convicted, and the appeals have gone all the way even to the Supreme Court, if later evidence shows that that person didn't do that, didn't commit that crime, we don't keep that person in jail. Why? Because we're not here to prosecute or persecute people. We're here to seek justice. And if justice from information that comes and is learned afterwards shows that a prior ruling, a prior conviction, a prior tax assessment was wrong, then it should be corrected. That is precisely the case in the Taiji Men tax case. And it is inconceivable to me that there's even a discussion about 1992 because the situation and circumstances there were no different than they were for the other years in which there's been a negotiation down to zero of the tax liability. And the world is watching. People are watching how this case is going to be handled. And I encourage all of the decision makers, to put a stop to this, to not seize any property and not perpetuate an injustice that has gone on for 24 years.
They have been taught never to compromise, whatever the price to pay. Integrity, dignity, respect, compassion, love, and peace are at the heart of their values and of their lives. But some people and institutions have shamelessly violated their human rights to justice. The DC are the best ambassadors of Taiji Man's teachings to the outside world because they are the living testimonies that their spiritual values can regenerate individuals and society. This is a major contribution of Taiji Man to the spread of human rights in Taiwan. This is also a precious asset for the Taiwanese society and the image of the country abroad. But the National Taxation Bureau and its ally, Prosecutor Hu, nicknamed the Judicial Rambo, stubbornly remain deaf to their call for justice.
Non-governmental organizations in consultative status with the United Nations have been concerned with the Taiji Man Qigong Academy case, even if Taiwan is not a member of the United Nations. The Taiji Men case has two aspects. One, of the defense of religious and spiritual liberty, and two, the fair and transparent tax procedures. Taiji Men has been very active in cultural exchanges with other countries, so that many people have learned of the rich cultural life and heritage of Taiwan. The Taiji Men issue has been much discussed in Taiwan, in the media, in the parliament, in law courts, and in public hearings. The issues are clear, and we appeal that the tax issue can be settled in a just and open way as quickly as possible.
They claim that for 1992, the appeal terms had expired. But of course, there is no appeal term when decisions are grossly unjust. They can always be revised. In conclusion, what is happening now? Now the tax office is insisting with its bill for 1992 and threatens to seize properties of Taiji Men and auction them, which will cause enormous harm to Taiji Men and to freedom of belief. It's not about money. Taiji Men has spent more in legal expenses than what will pay if they paid the tax bill for 92. It's about principle. They didn't commit any wrongdoing, and they don't want to admit this. It will be false.
The ongoing case involving Taiji Men is unacceptable, to say the least, generally speaking, and also very difficult to understand from a legal, purely legal point of view. For instance, basing on the legal principle of estoppel, it should not be argued or asserted that Taiji Men have to pay taxes for the disputed year 1992, as there should be no dispute at all.
L'affaire Taiji Men a révélé les failles fondamentales de l'État, de droit et la façon dont le pouvoir de l'État a été détourné ou même abusé. Les représentants du gouvernement ont violé de nombreuses dispositions de procédure régulière dans l'affaire Taiji Men. Taïwan a gagné la sympathie de nombreux pays et organisations dans le monde pour la défense des droits démocratiques en Asie de l'Est et la gestion transparente et efficace de la crise du Covid-19. Il est grand temps que cette vieille situation soit résolue en garantissant aux membres de Taiji Men leurs droits humains et leur dignité et leur liberté de religion.
Certainly, it is not a transparent one, apparently, which is bad news for economy as a whole. Bad news is that the Revenue Service revealed itself in that occasion as an instrument of the executive power to carry out a persecution against a legitimate spiritual movement. However, the administrative inertia, of course, so to say, still left alive some claims by the Revenue Service concerning exactly the same violation which was declared inexistent by the court. You shouldn't admit a fault on your side. I strongly encourage you to fight against this persecution.
I think that we should all stand by Taiji men because, again, as the video brilliantly said, the battle of Taiji men is the battle for the most important, most essential human right, religious freedom, is the battle for freedom, is the battle for liberty, is the battle for justice, it is the battle for equal treatment of all before the law.
太极门人权被迫害案件在争取公平正义的道路上，一直有很多的专家学者的支持与声援。日前，在一场联合国世界公正日的专题论坛中，国立中正大学财经法律学系的教授黄俊杰先生说出了政府面对太极门假案应该要怎么做，以及针对国际专家学者们对太极门假案的关注及声援，提出了他的见解。现在让我代为念给大家听。我认为我们国家的主政机关应该要面对太极门的这个问题，因为国家如果诚实的面对人民，人民必相当爱护这个国家。海外的台湾人跟在台湾的民众都是一样的。我们期待的是一个谦卑、拥护人权、爱护人权的国家。在国家有困难的时候，人民自然会挺身而出。但是一个国家，如果你的终审法院都说你是错的，一个未经执行错误的判决，还是硬要执行，那其实我们国家应该要自己去反思。如果这样的一个情况，如果国家有困难的时候，你这种不公义、不公正的对待人民，要怎么能够期待人民在国家有困难的时候也能够挺身而出？所以我必须要这样讲，就是我们台湾很难走出国际社会。太极门在这个个案里面呢，透过自己的力量跟国际社会接轨。国际社会这些学者，他们都有一定的学术地位，也跟政府有相当好的关系。这就是我们台湾最需要的国际援助。所以这一份的努力，你花很多钱也不见得会得到支持。而民众自发性还有国际学者的自愿的合作，我认为是一个非常重要的无形资产。虽然今天执行都被执行了，错误的都已经错误了，但实际上还有一点点的机会，就是政府在经过一个慎重的衡酌之后，认为这是个错误的过往。就像我们思考228事件，经过这么久之后，我们仍然愿意把228事件的补偿条例把它改成赔偿条例，把过去认为228事件是一个合法的公权力，终于承认是个违法公权力。政府这样做不会失掉民心。所以同样的，太极门是一个税法上228事件，赋税人权的指标性事件，国际关注的事件。我们台湾的政府愿意承认过去做的是有违误、有错误，人民不会认为政府是无可救药了。所以我们期待呢，真的一个谦卑爱人权的政府，可以从这个小小的地方可以看得出来。因为你想，2300万人口，还有1431万个去年度的被认为是违法的事件，表示我们不考虑人数。台湾的法治竟然会造成半数的人违法，必须接受执行。 难道政府看到了这个数据，看到了这些执行的标的、金额的实现，你真的会快乐吗？你应该要觉得说，你的教育体制是不是有问题？所以我们真的要对太极门的努力，我们要诚挚的表示肯定啊。那台湾缺的就是国际的朋友，太极门已经帮你们走出这样的一条康庄大道，政府的承认错误无非是无偿的收割，难道这样的一个过程不是我们非常乐意看到？我们的文化被全世界所认同，所以我们希望政府不要再坚持无知的谬误，诚实的就是个最好的政府。那我想也透过这个机会呼应一下，我们不论任何政党，我们都应该要诚实面对。真的，一个非常卑微的人权的组织，自己非常的努力，在为了大家的公益在贡献，这是值得我们大家尊敬的。谢谢。非常感谢黄教授一番凯茜的谏言。近1年多来，已有100万篇声援太极门的文章发表在国际人权网站以及寒冬杂志。国际非政府组织已3度向联合国人权理事会递交了太极门案件报告，并有25位国际知名的专家学者联署写信给蔡英文总统，敦促总统介入纠正国税局和行政执行署的歧视行径，还给太极门修行圣地。诚如黄俊杰教授所言，政府现在的承认错误无非是无偿的收割，在正确的时机做对的事。希望小英政府听到正义的声音，不要再漠视太极门的人权。最后，让我们一起来看全球反贪腐国际关注太极门假案华盛顿 DC 国际记者会的影片，并祝福大家平安健康。我们下次见。
As the year draws to a close, Taijimen Qigong Academy and the Action Alliance to Redress 1219 returned to Washington, D.C. for the 4th time in 2021 to demand justice from the Taiwan government.
Taijimen is back in Washington, D.C. for the 4th time this year because our case has not been resolved yet. Today, Taijimen Dizi are coming from all over the world. Yesterday was the 4th time that Taijimen had gone to Techro in Washington, D.C., but we have yet to meet the representative Shao.
In addition to protesting at Techro, Taijimen presented its case at an international forum and also held a press conference on Capitol Hill.
And today we held the first ever international press conference because we want the government to hear our voices and truly give us the justice that we deserve.
The press conference featured Dr. Massimo Intravigne and members of Taijimen Qigong Academy who presented its case to the global media.
The Taijimen case is a case where human rights of the Taijimen community were violated through corruption.
The Taiwan government is not understanding the Taijimen case in its proper terms. It is not a domestic or technical tax case, but it's a human rights case based on freedom of religion or belief. So it's great time Taijimen doesn't receive the repeated answer that because of a statute of limitation questions, the case should not be solved, because it's a political case, it's a case of human rights, it's a case of freedom of religion or belief, and it's a case impacting negatively on the international image of Taiwan.
Members of Taijimen and the Action Alliance to Redress 1219 provided background context for the case.
Its leader, Dr. Hong Daozi, established the Taijimen Qigong Academy in Taiwan in 1966. Now it has 15 academies around the world.
Dr. Hong, our Shifu, has continued to guide us in the journey to spread love and peace around the world.
Taijimen Dizi help themselves and others through practicing Qigong, strengthening their bodies, cultivating their hearts and moral character.
The case of Taijimen, for example, was listed by the Control Yuan in 2005 as one of the major human rights protection cases in the general report and the work of human rights protection of the Control Yuan. The text of Taiji Men shows that the system of tax bonuses granted to public servants can lead to undue fiscal and judicial harassment.
Taiji Men and the Action Alliance to Readdress 1219 are seeking support from the United States government to advocate for their case.
For human rights, for justice!
These protests are not good for the international image of Taiwan. To achieve a peaceful political solution, the only way is that Taiwan hears from his friends. And primarily his friends are United States. So Taiwan needs to hear from United States that we live in an historical moment when Taiwan needs a maximum of support from his international friends. But a precondition for this support to be effective is for Taiwan to put its own house in order.
The year 2021 culminates a quarter century of Taiji Men fighting for justice from the Taiwan government. So far, there has been no response from the top representative at TECRO or the Taiwan government.
We are going to continue to reach out through the international community to put pressure on the Taiwanese government to correct the mistakes that were made 25 years ago. If it's not resolved, we will come back.
Fight for human rights! Fight for justice!